other than access to data, what is sort of like the ideal case scenario that you guys will see, right? And the picture that can inspire the folks in the room to.
So I think the question there, kind of two pieces of the question, but one question was 3 months is a big commitment for somebody to move to another town that they may not be from and focus on their startup. And I think to some degree from a Techstars perspective, you know, we have quite a few companies doing that. We'll actually have, you know, 60 companies at least this year going through the mainstream Techstars programs and probably close to 80 throughout the year with the Powered by Techstars programs as well. So I think there's, you know, we could probably talk to some of the founders and you can see a lot of history on the companies that have gone through Techstars as far as what value they got out of that 3 months. So I think there's tremendous value in the commitment and the focus and the saturation with the type of mentors and talents you have in Techstars, as well as with the Nike mentors for that 3 months. Now, you know, separately, you're going to have unique access to the platform, which I think Scott was kind of talking to and Brian were talking to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's obviously right. I mean, you know, what I can, so I'll let Dave speak to kind of the Techstars benefits, right, in terms of the mentorship on that side and kind of the benefits in fundraising and that sort of stuff. I think from the Nike side, you know, what I would say you get to me beyond that, yes, access to the APIs and SDKs, which as we just talked about is not going to be everywhere anytime soon. I think the other big thing is to think about what Nike's great at, right? I mean, so it kind of really depends at you know, what you're thinking about, what you're developing, where you are in that maturity. But Nike's phenomenal at inspiration. It's incredible at branding, incredible at design, incredible at creative, you know, incredible at sport, right? And those are benefits that we've set up, not just the mentors from the Techstars side to enhance, although they've brought folks like Tim Ferriss and others who certainly I think are interesting to some folks. On the Nike side, you know, mentors in this program include guys like Stefan Olander, who's the head of digital sport at Nike, Ricky Engelberg, who's the director of experience, Jesse Stolik, who is global brand director, digital brand director, all the way up to Tom Clark, who is president of New Ventures, was former president and COO of Nike. So, I mean, and that's a smattering of examples, but I think, you know, we're authentic in what we do and we care a lot about it. And so I think if getting insight from, and Paul Winsberg, who's director of performance training at Spark, which is our kind of elite performance training group, I mean, I think there's expertise throughout Nike that's dedicated to making sure that companies who come in this program are successful. And so I think all the benefits in terms of access to capital and all of that saying validation and the power of kind of really getting down and distilling to focus on what you're developing. But I think we really bring some unique assets in this space, kind of on the digital side, on the experience side, on the branding side, and certainly on the sports side that really are truly unique, I think, in the space.
Does Nike have an investment fund?
So Nike does not have a dedicated investment fund. We do have a group that will make some kind of venture capital investments very early. That has not made an investment in the digital side, doesn't have any funds certainly set aside to invest beyond in this program, but it is something that's possible.
Yeah, hi, this is Angel again. I would love to hear about the customer. I'm making an app, and my bet is that the Nike band is pretty much limited to a type of customer, and I want to make an app that's a fitness game for the wannabes. And could you tell me specifically who is using the band? How many bands are out there? What are they like? Can you? I'm looking at you. Yeah. Can you give me a sense of the customer?
So we really developed Nike Fuel Band for an all-day activity, and so traditionally Nike's been separated into categories. So really going deep on the tennis player, the football player, the basketball player, the runner. And what we found when we were doing our research to do Fuel Band is we wanted an all-day activity that cut across all of the categories. And so we really tout kind of the Fuel Band as 8 to 88. It's something that inspires the everyday athlete, like Brian was talking about, the athlete with the asterisk. If you have a body, you're an athlete, and we really want to inspire that everyday activity.
Yeah, in the back there.
Yeah, so how would you deal with an application of a company that has the potential to actually make the fuel band redundant?
Should I repeat that question? So how do we deal with an application that has the potential to make the fuel ban redundant?
Exactly.
I think the program is to, build our ecosystem and see what we can do with our data. So I think it'd have to be maybe something a little bit more than just exactly the fuel band or redundancy for the fuel band.
I would just go back to say that additional devices that plug into the Nike Plus platform are not outside the realm of possibility.
No, I'm talking about software.
Software.
Yeah.
I would say bring it, Yeah, back in the corner, I couldn't really see. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about why Nike chose now to open it up? I mean, what makes now a good time versus keeping your API kind of closed? Is that
Why now?
To some degree because we can now, would be the honest answer. I think, we've been doing a lot at Nike on the digital front. And some of that's been progressing our apps, some of that's been kind of in related areas like digital training. But I think honestly, getting the platform to the point where we really can focus the attention and the resources on working with partners and making sure that they're successful has been an ongoing effort. And I think part of it is that now is the right time, and part of it is getting things like the fuel ban, getting some products out there, and getting kind of the Nike Plus community to a point where we think it makes sense for everybody. So a little bit of both.
Yeah, in the back, in the middle.
Yeah, so if you guys don't have money to invest, but you have access to obviously all these great people at Nike, are you guys going to be a little bit like American Idol or a game publisher, if you will, to offer support, like marketing support of these products? Like if something comes in, you come up with a viable product, do you guys have a marketing channel strategy where you're like, we're gonna release 10 products a quarter or something and really make that visible to the marketplace? Because that probably has a lot of value to startups and entrepreneurs to get that sort of visibility that Nike controls with all its distribution.
So to summarize the question is, what kind of business engagement or marketing engagement from Nike would you see with the companies in the program?
Or is there a plan? Is there like a
Is there-
marketing plan, a launch plan to push successful or interesting products out into the public?
Is there a specific plan for that?
Yeah, so there's not a specific plan for it. I mean, I think I would go back and say that kind of the first part of that question was a statement that since there's not kind of a dedicated fund and that sort of stuff, is there anything that you are going to bring to these companies? And I think again, I'd just go back and say there's not a dedicated fund other than the $20,000 that each team will get on acceptance. But there is a lot of engagement from the VC community, and I think we can downplay that if we want to, but there are a few folks here in the room that I've seen tonight who are involved as mentors, who are VCs that are involved in mentors. There's obviously folks from Kleiner, from Mayfield, from Interwest, from Morgan Baylor. There's a bunch of folks who are really excited about what this program is creating. And so I think I'd probably dispute the first part of that statement. But on the second part, there's not a dedicated marketing plan, but I do think, again, it's important to mention that the folks that are involved in this program from Nike, I've mentioned some of them before, so I won't say them again, are the folks who make those decisions. And this is the way that you are going to get in front of folks like that. You're not going to get in front of Jesse, who runs digital brand for Nike. You're not going to get in front of Ricky, probably. You're not going to get in front of the folks who make these decisions, can get excited about what you're doing. I think we've all seen in our own lives the kind of impact and the kind of plan that Nike can put forward when it gets really excited about things. So I think I would not underestimate Nike's focus and belief in this program and what I think will come out of it. But to answer your question directly, there's not a dedicated plan.
And then, just to come back, from the Techstars perspective, Techstars has graduated over 200 companies through Techstars programs throughout the U.S. Our companies have raised over $300 million in capital. Average is $1.5 million per company, and in the mainstream programs, we see a fundraising rate of about 90%. So most of the Techstars graduates do very well, get funded, and go on to prosper quite significantly. So I think it's a great relationship between us. and Nike in the sense that you've got the type of talent that Brian was highlighting. You've got the opportunity in front of us with one of the largest brands in the space and one of the leaders certainly in this particular segment. So it's just it's a nice mix if you're focused in this space.
How many applications do you have so far?
I don't want to say that. We're doing very well. I don't really want to go into that. We normally, in typical programs, you get about, we get probably about halfway through or maybe, a third of the way through what we'll end up with now. But we usually get a big pile at the end because people kind of, you finalize the opportunity and people can really, execute on it and get. And that's why we're doing this, to get the understanding here, so people really understand what they're proposing, what they're getting into. So it'll be pretty typical, comparable to other Techstars programs.